intention to go on loan. So now, or you change his mind, or you find a creative formula. But don't forget, there could be other possibilities also for Victor Osimhen. Hey guys, welcome back here on my channel with Fabrizio, as always, with all the latest. Let me take the best position here, but ready to discuss with you on all the latest on the transfer market. I will touch on some points. I see many of you already asking about Victor Osimhen and all the others. Matthijs de Ligt. We will touch on several points because there are many things to say. While I see Nevi asking where is João Neves official statement. Don't worry, it's all signed for João Neves. You can consider him new Paris Saint-Germain player, 60 million euros, 10 in Edons, Renato Sanchez to Benfica, loan with buy option, 10 million euros. So everything done for João Neves, but lot of movements on the market around Europe. So we will discuss about many points, many stories. I see many of you asking me already about Désiré Doué. Guys, for Désiré Doué, what we can say is that as of tonight, Saturday night, we can say that Bayern have a small advantage on Paris Saint-Germain. Why? Because they've been pushing a lot on club side with Rennes to agree on personal terms, to agree on the transfer fee, to agree on the package. So Bayern in the last few days, this week, Bayern have been insisting a lot with Rennes to close the deal, and the player has appreciated a lot this effort by Bayern. So Bayern are favorites in this moment, but PSG are still in the race. Paris Saint-Germain are still there. And remember that when there is Nasser Al-Khelaifi directly involved in a topic, in this case, Désiré Doué, for sure the story is still open. So Paris Saint-Germain will still try. The player has still not communicated his final decision. Tonight, Bayern are ahead, but it doesn't mean that the deal is done. So we have to be patient and see what's going to happen on this one. Then I see someone asking about Julián Álvarez, guys, and I think this is one of the topics that we have to touch tonight, the future of Julián Álvarez. Because, first of all, let me say that as of tonight, Saturday, nothing has been completed, agreed, or done for Julián Álvarez. I already opened my social media accounts and I see many pictures of Julián Álvarez already wearing the shirt of other clubs. What's important to say is that if you're following me, you know that since June, the situation between Julián Álvarez and Manchester City has been quite difficult. Difficult why? Difficult because Julián Álvarez wants to play more. And it's not about the number of games. It's about the big games. So Julián Álvarez wants to feel important in big games. This is what he already communicated via his agent to Manchester City before the beginning of the Copa America, of the Olympics. So Julián has been clear on this desire. But then what's important to mention is that also in the recent days, the message from Julián Álvarez to the club has been quite clear. He wants to explore opportunities on the market because he wants to play more in big games. This is the message of Julián Álvarez. Now, what's going on? Manchester City during the month of June have always been repeating to the agents of the player, we want to keep Julián Álvarez. So Man City were not giving a price tag for Julián Álvarez. We're not giving the chance to the clubs interested, Paris Saint-Germain and all the others, to open concrete negotiations for Julián Álvarez because they were not giving a price. Now the situation is changing because Manchester City are open to discussing for Julián Álvarez exit. This is, I think, the big news of this week. Paris Saint-Germain are among clubs interested in Julián Álvarez because they had a conversation with the agent of the player, so there was already a contact. Contacts took place also between Atletico Madrid and the agents of Julián Álvarez, but as of tonight, still nothing advanced in club-to-club talks with both clubs, PSG and Atletico, with Manchester City. Why? Because Manchester City want a big package of money for Julián Álvarez. So they are not going to accept a loan with buy option. They are not going to accept 40 million euros, 50 million euros. I think not even 60 or 65. Man City want way more for Julián Álvarez. So it's not going to be an easy topic for all the clubs interested, but the interest is real. Man City are now open to discuss because they understand that the player doesn't feel as comfortable as he did in the recent years. And another important point, next week will be important because next week the agent of the player will be in Europe to have discussions with all these clubs involved and with Manchester City to clarify the situation of Julián Álvarez. So important days ahead for the future of one of the best strikers around, Julián Álvarez. Let me answer also Saed and all the others asking about Mikel Merino. Guys, let me say I'm proud of that. Earlier this week, we were here with Matteo together to break and say about the story of Mikel Merino and Arsenal. Arsenal, we say that, I think it was on Tuesday or Wednesday, Arsenal are closing in on the deal for Mikel Merino, and I can confirm that. I can tell you again tonight that the agreement between all parties involved in this story, Arsenal, Real Sociedad, the agent of Mikel Merino, is absolutely close. So the expectation is for Mikel Merino to be the next signing for Arsenal after Riccardo Calafiori. How is going this topic? Arsenal are having very good conversations on player side. My feeling is that the player has been very clear on the topic and on his future. So the player wants to go to Arsenal. This is what I'm told. There was interest from Barcelona, but Barca are busy with other topics. There was interest also from Atletico Madrid, but Atletico Madrid are involved in this crazy story to convince Conor Gallagher to join the club. Otherwise, they also have some alternative option for the midfield. Meanwhile, Atletico Madrid signed Sorlo today. They need also one more centre-back. So Atletico Madrid are very busy on the market. But what's important to say is that at the moment, the agreement between Mikel Merino and Arsenal or personal terms is done. So Mikel Merino wants to go to Arsenal. Mikel Merino believes that Premier League is the perfect opportunity for him. Mikel Merino believes that Mikel Arteta is the perfect manager for him. Let me say that Arteta deserves to be mentioned when we discuss about Arsenal transfer window, because he was driving the interest for Riccardo Calafiori. Of course, together with Edu, Arsenal are very compact and together when it's time to decide which players they want to sign. But Mikel Arteta was really pushing to have Riccardo Calafiori. The feeling between Calafiori and Arteta was great, and Arteta was also following him closely at Bologna in the recent months. So he considered Calafiori as perfect signing. Mikel Merino is considered as perfect opportunity. Out of contract in 1 year, so not so expensive. Considered a player who can be really solid and ready for Premier League football. A player who understands the idea of Mikel Arteta because he's coming from Spanish football too, so a similar school. And so Arsenal are now expected to close in the next days the agreement with Real Sociedad. It's already closed because the verbal exchange has already started. Then it's going to be important to discuss the payment structure, the payment terms. There are still some things to do to get the deal done, but Arsenal are getting there for Mikel Merino. So the conversation is going well. We can't say here we go yet, but we can say that Arsenal are advancing well on this deal for Mikel Merino. Keds, thank you for your question in Power Chat, asking, Ugarte to Manchester United. Fabrizio, you are the best. Thank you, my friend. And on Ugarte, I can, first of all, confirm what I told you today. What I told you 2 weeks ago, actually, because it was Friday 2 weeks ago. It was right after they signed Lenny Joro, and I told you they agreed on personal terms with Manu Ugarte. So I can confirm to you tonight that there is an agreement still valid between Manuel Ugarte and Manchester United on the contract. Manuel Ugarte wants to go to Man United. Now Man United have to reach an agreement with Paris Saint-Germain. And it means on transfer fee. So at the moment, the direct contact between Man United and PSG is still ongoing, is a positive contact, but still no agreement on the transfer fee. Remember that for Manchester United, the financial fair play topic is important, and so outgoings are needed. They already spent important money on Joshua Zirkzee, on Lenny Joro, so to sell players is important to make some space in the midfield. So let's see what happens with McTominay. We know about Fulham. Let's see what happens with Casemiro. Let's see what happens with players in that position, because Man United need to make some space in order to sign Manu Ugarte. Also, don't forget about Sofian Amrabat, because Sofian Amrabat remains in the list of Manchester United, really appreciated by Erik ten Hag. But now the priority is Ugarte. Amrabat remains an option, even if they didn't trigger the buy option from Fiorentina. They can structure the deal in a different way, so rediscuss terms with Fiorentina. And so Man United will be busy with the story of Manu Ugarte. Let me tell you, and we will enter into that in a minute, that Manchester United also have a similar situation with Matthijs de Ligt and Hussein Mazraoui. In the case of Mazraoui, is very advanced, so I fully expect Mazraoui to become a new Manchester United player. We will enter into the detail of the story. And then Matthijs de Ligt, who since June, we can say it was the 3rd week of June, he agreed on personal terms with Man United and is basically waiting for Man United. He wants to go to Man United, so his priority is to wait for United. Hazard in the chat, thank you for your question, asking, any chance Nico Williams or Amorodion to Chelsea? Look, these are two players they love, but at the moment, Nico Williams, the feeling is still the same. is with Barcelona waiting for an answer and with Athletic Bilbao waiting for him to stay. So this is the story. We wait for Nico to decide, but at the moment, again, I see these two options, and I've always seen these two options as the most credible options for the future of Nico Williams. So the appreciation of Chelsea is true, but at the moment, that's it, because it's complicated, the story with Nico Williams. Omar remains a player appreciated by Chelsea, but I think at the moment it's really important to see what happens with Conor Gallagher. Conor Gallagher is the crucial story to understand also about the relationship between Chelsea and Atletico Madrid. Remember that Atletico Madrid already rejected important proposals from Chelsea for Samu Morodion. It was something in excess of 30 million euros plus add-ons for Samu Morodion. They said no. So Atletico want to keep Morodion, but in case they will open the door in the next weeks, Chelsea could be still interested. I wish you sound health always. You are the N'Golo Kante of journalism. Thank you, my friend. Honorable. Thank you for your nice words. Then. Let me see other questions. Then I wanted to touch also the story on Victor Osimhen to explain to you a bit about that. I see daily AFC content. What are you hearing on Nketiah and Marseille? Look, my friend, the deal is getting complicated. So let me explain something for Arsenal fans and for Marseille fans. Olympique Marseille did 3 bids for Edin Nketiah. The last bid was yesterday, Friday, rejected by Arsenal, 27 million euros. The answer from Arsenal, from what I'm told, was we want 35 million euros and sell-on clause for Edin Nketiah. This is what Arsenal want for their striker. Olympique Marseille, from what I understand today, are not going to pay that money. So the only way to reactivate this option is if Olympique Marseille feel that Arsenal can reduce the price in the next days or weeks. But as of today, at the current conditions, Olympique Marseille will consider different options. Let me clarify that my understanding is that, yes, exclusive story from today, Olympique Marseille will sign Youssoufa Moukoko from Borussia Dortmund, agreement with the player. Moukoko wants to go to Marseille. Pablo Longoria, Mehdi Benatia, Roberto De Zerbi, all together presenting the project. The player is excited. He wants to go to Marseille, so the agreement Borussia Dortmund-Marseille will be done. But my understanding is that Olympique Marseille, after Carboni, after Moukoko, could still sign one more offensive player. So the Nketiah story at the moment is in standby because Marseille will not pay that money. In case they change the conditions, we will see. Otherwise, Marseille will go for another striker. Meanwhile, they keep working on the deal for Youssoufa Moukoko. I see Tottenham fans asking about Pedro Neto, and Pedro Neto remains a player really, really appreciated and very highly rated by Tottenham. So for sure, he's one of the players they've always had in their list. Let's see if they will decide to accelerate. But I expect Tottenham to be busy. Starting from next week, Tottenham, Liverpool, I think these clubs will start the activity, concrete activity, because they've always been working behind the scenes. So I expect them to be active starting from next week in terms of contacts. And on Tottenham, let me mention exclusive story from, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, but concrete interest in Dominic Solanke. So Tottenham like Solanke. They know it's a difficult deal because Bournemouth don't want to sell the player. He has a release clause included in his contract, so not an easy one. But the interest of Tottenham in Dominic Solanke is a genuine interest, so could be a possibility. Then let me see a bit in the chat. My friends of Leicester fans, I see, asking about Asprilla and Leicester City. I can tell you that it's not only Leicester. It's not an easy story. It's not an easy story because many clubs have been interested in this boy in Italy, then in Saudi, then Rennes saw the player traveling there to negotiate, and the player returned to London because there was no agreement. It's true that Leicester have an interest, but it's not a done deal from what I'm hearing. There is still Porto there. There are Spanish clubs trying to enter the race. So the Asprilla story is still open from what I'm hearing. Max Bayer to Borussia Dortmund. Very busy summer for Borussia Dortmund. He's an option for BVB. Yes, is a possibility. Nothing will happen until full-crook deal will be signed between West Ham, the player, and BVB, but for sure, Maxi Bayer is one of the names they have in the shortlist. That's for sure. I see many questions on Nico Williams, guys, but I don't want to be repetitive. On Nico Williams, we just have to wait for the player to decide. Trust me, all parties are waiting for the player to decide. What I told you last week is that Athletic Bilbao already prepared a new contract proposal for Nico in case he decides to stay at the club, and this remains the case. Athletic Bilbao are still fighting to keep Nico at the club and still hoping, but Barca have not deactivated the option. Barca are still waiting for Nico to answer. On Barcelona, before touching on Osimhen, don't worry, we will talk about Osimhen. Don't worry, I'm coming. Then, I'm coming on Osimhen. Don't worry, I see you. But on Barca, let me say something also on Dani Olmo, because it was an exclusive story Thursday. Barca had presented a bid to Red Bull Leipzig for Dani Olmo. It was an important proposal, but with payment terms not really appreciated by Red Bull Leipzig. Let's say like this. I don't expect anything to happen this weekend. The situation is still relaxed. But starting from beginning of next week, the conversation Leipzig, Barcelona will restart, and the conversation will involve the agents of Dani Olmo. The agents of Dani Olmo are crucial in this story. Dani Olmo has an agreement with Barca, 6-year contract. Dani Olmo wants to go to Barca, and it's very clear. His priority is to go to Barcelona. He would love the idea of playing at Barcelona. So now the conversation is going to be Leipzig, Barcelona, with the agents involved. The agents of the player will talk to Red Bull Leipzig because they have an excellent relationship, and they will try to find the right way all together with Barcelona and Leipzig to make the deal happen. So the Dani Olmo story is absolutely on, is absolutely concrete. The discussions are taking place, and the agents of the player will be involved with Leipzig to try to find a way. So next week is going to be important to try to advance on the Dani Olmo story. Many of you asking me, Fabrizio, but Barca were not activating any option until they had the answer of Nico Williams. Yes, this was the idea in July. Then, guys, you can understand by yourself that Barca can't wait forever. Can't wait for Nico Williams 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks without activating any other option. So Barca are now working on the Dani Olmo deal because they presented on an official bid. So Barca are working on the Dani Olmo deal, but meanwhile, I'm still waiting for Nico. My friend, thank you. But my hair is still the same. I don't know why you say it changed. It didn't. Bellumi to Marseille, I will let you know as soon as I have something. Don't worry. Why it takes so much time for Nico Williams to agree on personal terms with Barca? But I don't think it's a financial point. You know, the financial agreement between Nico and Barca is not a problem. It's never been a problem. They spoke to the agent of the player. So it's not an issue of money or agreement with the player. I think the crucial part of the story with Nico Williams is that the player is receiving a lot of pressure. First of all, the player is very young. Second, the player was not expected at all to be in this kind of situation this summer, guys. He did a fantastic Euro, but if you ask people in April, in May, they will absolutely not expecting Nico Williams to be the man of the summer. So imagine for a young guy who's never had all this attention in the media, who has been the face of the Euros together with Lamine Yamal, Dani Olmo, and all the stars of Spain, but Nico has been incredible. So on all the media every single day for 1 month, and now the man of the market, he's receiving a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure to go to Barca, a lot of pressure to stay at Bilbao, a lot of pressure on all sides to make a decision. So imagine how complicated it is. And trust me, one day we will touch into the details of this. But Nico Williams, in the recent weeks, has received some crazy proposal from clubs from abroad, not from La Liga, but from abroad. And if Nico wanted to go for money, Nico had the possibility to say, you know what, Athletic Bilbao, Barca, bye-bye, I go to another country, another league, I go for crazy money, and I leave Spain. If Nico didn't do that, it's because his priority is still to continue in Spain, but still taking his time to make a decision. So that's it. How to open talks with Dua Lipa? Good question, but I don't have the answer for you, my friend. Liverpool news, my friend. On Liverpool, not yet. I'm coming with Osimhen. Don't worry. On Liverpool, still nothing. But what I can tell you is that in the next days, I expect them to accelerate. So I expect Liverpool to enter into concrete talks to activate some option. I can confirm what I always said here: the appreciation in Anthony Gordon. Yes, Liverpool are looking at some player in the midfield, my friend. I see the question in the chat, yes. Let me say that Liverpool appreciate Anthony Gordon a lot. He's a player, we know that. They tried to sign in June when Newcastle were in panic with the financial fair play situation. Now the situation in Newcastle is different, so it's even more difficult for Liverpool to agree on a deal with Newcastle for Anthony Gordon, but I can confirm once again the strong appreciation of Liverpool for Anthony Gordon. So let me say that I would not be surprised if Liverpool decide to try again. I'm not saying that it's going to happen because Newcastle will not make it easy to any club interested in Anthony Gordon. They want to keep him. They want to trust him. They want him to be one of the faces of their squad for present and future. So it's not an easy one, especially after the panic of financial fair play at the end of June. But the interest of Liverpool in Anthony Gordon remains strong, and he remains one of the players they keep mentioning in internal talks at the club. Then, if they sign him, we will see. I see a question on Oscar Bob, guys. I see Oscar Bob staying at Manchester City. I don't see Manchester City selling Oscar Bob and selling Julián Álvarez in the same transfer window. So I don't think it's going to be a possibility. Also because he's a player really loved by Pep Guardiola. Meanwhile, guys, official Crescencio Somerville to West Ham. So finally, the deal is official. We're gonna tweet about that. Just a second. Okay, we'll do in a minute. Then I wanted to explain something on Osimhen, because guys, if you have been following me on my channels, on X, on YouTube, here on Playback, I always told you the situation of Victor Osimhen is not going to be resolved this week. Nothing will happen this week. Forget about this week. And this remains the case. So I was 100% sure that was not something imminent. So let me explain to you that Chelsea and Napoli had talks about Victor Osimhen and Romelu Lukaku. What happened is what I told you on Monday, is that Napoli keep talking to Chelsea about Romelu Lukaku, trying to find a solution. Let's be clear, Napoli want to sign Romelu Lukaku. Napoli consider Romelu Lukaku the top priority. Option number 1, 2, and 3 is Romelu Lukaku. Antonio Conte wants Romelu Lukaku. Antonio Conte already had talks with Romelu Lukaku this summer to tell him, I'm waiting for you. So Napoli will go for Romelu Lukaku. Chelsea know that. Remember that Chelsea have a release clause into the contract of Romelu Lukaku. So Chelsea are in a good position on that. But they know that the player wants to go to Napoli. So the feeling is mutual between Napoli and Lukaku. During these talks, Napoli, after understanding that PSG were still not accelerating on Victor Osimhen, it doesn't mean that PSG don't have an interest in Victor Osimhen, because they spoke to Victor Osimhen. And Victor Osimhen, it was 2 weeks ago, gave a green light to Paris Saint-Germain move. Victor Osimhen wanted to go to PSG, but the problem was that PSG and Napoli were not able to agree on a fee. First of all, really tense situation, because PSG wanted to sign Kvaratskhelia, Napoli said no, then they tried for Osimhen, Napoli asked for the release clause, PSG said no chance to pay the clause, and also, important to mention, when Napoli wanted to include Kang-Jin Lee as part of the deal, PSG left the conversation. So at the moment, the story for Osimhen and PSG is in standby, is not advancing. It doesn't mean that the deal is not happening, but as of today, and already 2 weeks, is in standby. So that's the point with PSG. Standby doesn't mean off, means standby. Then Chelsea, during the discussion with Napoli for Romelu Lukaku, they were told by Napoli, so it was Napoli telling Chelsea this, that they are open to include Victor Osimhen as part of the Romelu Lukaku negotiations. Obviously, Chelsea started to consider opportunities as part of this discussion, but Chelsea were told immediately by the agent of the player that Victor Osimhen, the player himself, and the agent of the player, today, beginning of August, have no intention to go on loan. Why? Because Victor Osimhen, if he leaves Napoli, he doesn't want to return there in 1 year. So loan with buy option. Obligation or mandatory clause is completely different story. Obligation means permanent transfer, and Victor Osimhen is leaving on permanent transfer. The point is, loan with buy option is something that Victor Osimhen doesn't want to do today. Then the feeling that many people in the industry has is, okay, today is not happening on loan, but maybe if no other club will move, maybe from Saudi, maybe PSG again, maybe any other club will try to sign Osimhen, they still have a chance. But in case from today to next weeks nothing happens, Chelsea can try again to find a solution with Napoli. So I don't think, from what I'm told, that it's going to be a situation resolved today, tonight, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I think it's going to take some time to understand what happens between Napoli and Chelsea, because as of today, Victor Osimhen and his agent, Roberto Calenda, have no intention to go on loan. This is the position. Then Chelsea know that Napoli will return for Romelu Lukaku, and Chelsea know that conversations will continue. But at the moment, the issue is not Napoli. The issue is the player. Napoli are prepared to sell Victor Osimhen, but the player doesn't want to go on loan. So this is as of today. Then we know that things in the market can change, because sometimes if you take time, you can still try to convince players, convince agents, convince clubs. But as of today, Victor Osimhen keeps communicating that he doesn't want to go on loan. So let's see what's going to happen in the conversations. But I can tell you that what I'm really proud of that I broke as news, it was last Monday, Victor Osimhen involved by Napoli in talks with Chelsea, is something I can confirm 100%. So he was offered in these discussions between Napoli and Chelsea. Then, to close the deal, you need the player. That's the point. And at the moment, Chelsea don't have any green light from the player. That's the situation. So Chelsea don't want Osimhen on permanent or not. I don't think it's about, hello my friend, first of all. I don't think it's about want or don't want. I think it's also about the financial package, is what we always said in May, in June. It was for Olise, for Victor Osimhen, for Nico Williams. These are all players appreciated by Chelsea. But when it's about the transfer fee, permanent means investing a lot of money. And then if you go on a permanent, you have to give Victor Osimhen exactly the same salary he has at Napoli, which is something, from what I'm told, around 11, 12 million euros net per season. Imagine for, I don't know, 3-4 years, something like that, plus transfer fee. This is something that for Chelsea, for financial fair play today, could be complicated. This is the reason why the Olise deal, for example, for Chelsea collapsed, because they were not able to pay a super big salary and an important transfer fee. So it's not that they don't want, it's that for Chelsea, the financial package is important. Nico Williams is a player they wanted already since last summer, but it's expensive. He's a player who is worth 58 million euros guaranteed plus taxes. So imagine that the risk clause of Nico Williams, between all things involved, is going to be more than 60 million euros paid in one solution plus a big salary. This was the main issue with all these players, Olise, Williams, and now with Osimhen. Then, if they can find a solution with a creative formula, we will see. I'm here, I will keep you posted. But as of today, Napoli-Chelsea negotiations continue? Yes. Napoli-Chelsea contacts continue? Yes. Can they advance and close the deal in 24, 48 hours? No, because Osimhen is still not changing his mind on the loan step. If Victor Osimhen will change his mind and will open doors to this possibility, I will be here and I will let you know. But as of today, this is not the case. Moukoko to Marseille is happening, my friend. So I think it's just a matter of negotiating the buy option clause after the loan, but I see him joining the club. So that's the point. Then. Let me see a bit here. Mark Guéhi for Newcastle. I can confirm that Newcastle asked for information on Mark Guéhi. They approached Crystal Palace. So it was a direct approach. I'm told, as of today, no formal bid from Newcastle. And Crystal Palace will ask something around 60-65 millions for Guéhi. So it's not going to be an easy deal for Mark Guéhi. But for sure, the interest of Newcastle is genuine. So we will see. For sure, there could be movement there. But it's going to be expensive. Then I'm trying to answer to all your questions, guys. You can imagine it's not easy, but I'm doing my best. Who tried to hijack the Calafiori deal? I will tell you at the end of the market. Don't worry. What do you think of Somerville? Excellent signing. I think this is a very good one for West Ham. Really, really smart signing. Congratulations to West Ham because they've been really, really busy. Has Chelsea discussed an obligation for Osimhen? As of today, not yet. But why? Because obligation is same as permanent transfer, guys. It's exactly the same thing. So at the moment, Chelsea, for permanent transfer, it would be too expensive. So they need to be creative and they need to find a way. As of today, they haven't found a way that is okay for Napoli and for the player. Because Napoli are open to letting Osimhen go. Osimhen wants to leave. Osimhen wants to leave. Osimhen wants to play for another club. And Napoli want to sign Lukaku. And Conte wants Lukaku to be his striker. So that's the situation. Now he's on the clubs. But again, it's not something imminent because even people involved in this story know that at the moment, Victor Osimhen doesn't want to go on loan. So the only way, or you change the mind of Victor Osimhen, or you find a creative formula. That's the only part of the story. If it's going to happen, I will be here and I will tell you. As I was, I think, the first one to tell you on Monday, Napoli are open to discuss Victor Osimhen with Chelsea as part of the Lukaku deal. And then the bomb started the following day. But the first time was on Monday because was when Napoli told Chelsea, okay, let's discuss about Victor Osimhen. And that was a crucial moment. But Chelsea then understood in public from the agent of the player and also in private, obviously, in the negotiation, that Victor Osimhen has no intention to go on loan. So now, or you change his mind, or you find a creative formula. But don't forget, there could be other possibilities also for Victor Osimhen. Conor Gallagher news, my friend, agreement Chelsea Atletico, waiting for Conor to decide yes or no to Atletico Madrid. He has an agreement with PSG. Osimhen has an agreement with PSG on the contract, but at the moment, still not advancing still not advancing between clubs. So it depends on PSG, on what they want to do. Then, guys, I think we said everything for today. It was a fantastic live stream. We shared many news. Thanks to all of you. It was a pleasure. See you in the next days with many news